Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, friends. Welcome. Uh, Welcome back to the game of the day. Today we are going to look at one of Raunak's victories over Grandmaster Anton Smirnov from Australia. Uh, this was played in the Chess Kids Junior Speed Chess Championship. Uh, Anton won the match 16-11, but Raunak played several fantastic games. Both of them played several fantastic games over the course of the match. Raunak had some pretty good wins with black pieces, especially, and we are going to look at one of those games. It started out with the Berlin defense, which was Raunak's main defense in this match, and in the first game, Anton went for the Berlin endgame, but subsequently he started going for this anti-Berlin variations with d3, and after bishop c5 he mostly took on c6 and went for this structure. After queen e2 we have one of these typical anti-Berlin positions where both black and white have a number of different ways to play with a lot of subtleties, most of which I'm not aware of. But yeah, I think it's incredibly complex, this position. Um, Knight d7, it's a pretty normal move in this structure especially. So when we have this structure with these double pawns in Rylopus, usually this e5 pawn is supported by f6, after which this knight can either get relocated to e6, or in certain cases the bishop comes to e6 and this knight can go to g6 as well. And in certain cases black goes f6, knight f8, bishop g4. There are again many different ways of approaching this position, again with a lot of very small subtleties, and it's a very active guest at the highest level. In this game, Anton decided to go knight d2, f6, and here he played knight b3, which is a bit of strange move in this position. Knight b3 with the idea of knight a5 is not exactly a new idea here. It has been played before as well. But in this particular instance, after f6 in this position, white much more often goes to knight c4. And after knight f8, a lot of games have gone with bishop e3 and bishop e3, fe3. I don't exactly remember how black's games went here, but I think queen e7 is a good move. Apart from this, the bishop can go to e6 with a normal game. But Anton went knight b3 and knight a5, uh, which is not completely atypical, but also not a move that has been played before here. So Raunak continues knight f8, bishop d2, and here one of the ideas of knight a5 is it's anyway intended to go towards c4, but white doesn't mind delaying the development of this bishop by a move or two. And in one of the games, it did happen that Raunak blended something like this. He then managed to recover and get a decent position, but it's still uh, it's still a very nice pawn for white to have. So in this game, he played c5, releasing one of the pawns from the knight's gaze, and after a4, b6. So now he's free to develop the light square bishop, and white has to go back to his natural square c4, bishop g4. Here a5 isn't really a threat, it can always be met by b5 or in certain cases ignored as well. Whereas g4 is a very natural square for this bishop. This knight comes to e6. So bishop h5, g4, bishop f7. In these positions, first of all, black has this very nice pawn formation controlling all the dark squares, and he has a light square bishop which white does not have. But in certain situations, in such pawn formations, the dark square bishop can feel quite left out. All the pawns are in dark squares and it has no free avenue. However, this position being closed, this doesn't have an immediate impact on black, and in the future this bishop has a lot of potential to come out, especially if the pawn structure is altered, which is very likely to happen when when black goes knight e6, knight d4. So white puts all his pawns on the light squares, which is what he should do strategically when he has a dark square bishop. So except the f2 pawn, all the pawns on the light squares, controlling all the light squares. Knight e6. Till now the game has pretty much followed a normal course. Black is already a little bit better because of white's knight b3, knight a5, knight c4. But here Anton goes completely off rails. He went for bishop e3 and queen d2, which doesn't really improve his position. But not only does it not improve his position, but it also kind of takes away the coordination from his position. Basically, in this position, white has to play on the king side and black plays on the queen side with some a6, b5. So white had to go for something like h4 and try and do something on the king side, either some g5 or h5. But it's also not that clear or that easy, which explains why someone as strong as Anton went completely astray. So he played bishop e3, bishop e7, queen d2. Already this bishop e3, queen d2 operation doesn't exactly help white so much. And after queen d7, rook g1, here Raunak played g5, which I felt was strategically quite strong. It eliminates all possible play for white on the king side and leaves black completely free to do whatever he likes on the queen side. So Raunak I understood this position quite well actually. And after h4, h6, long castle. Now black has completely free hand on the queen side, and he starts with his a6, king b1, b5. And after knight b2, knight d4, takes. This is one of the pawn structure transformations that I was speaking earlier. So there are certain generalizations that knight is better in closed positions compared to bishops. But in this position, that has absolutely no relevance to the truth. The white's knights are completely restricted. Like for example, this b2 bishop, he has absolutely no way to, this b2 knight, absolutely no way to reroute himself. He's stuck there. Whatever combination we think of, this knight is not going anywhere. Ideally, the knights would like to get to f5, and like it requires a bit of stroke of imagination to visualize the knight on b2 going to f5. So all this pressure accumulated, and Anton played some queen a5, queen c6, takes rook h1, rook f8. Normal move. I mean, he just wants to avoid the exchange. Also, other moves are keep the advantage. And now, after rook h6, which threatens tricks with knight e5, knight g5, and tries to gain some traction on the h5, this queen c3 move was pretty impressive. It kind of traps this knight indirectly, attacks this queen. The queen has absolutely no option but to take it. The queen cannot move anywhere, the a5 queen. And after taking on c3 and dc3, this knight is completely trapped. He has no squares. So Raunak has reached a completely won position. But now Anton starts fighting back. He starts creating all these tricks and threats. So he starts with this bishop e6, knight d4. Already during the game when I was observing this, I felt that rook d8 was perhaps more accurate. Just cutting this white's knight's tricks at its roots. So this knight is pinned now, and after c5, the rook is vulnerable. But Raunak played slightly differently. Bishop g4, f3, fe5, which were also the first moves of computer and pretty accurate by itself. But I felt that during the game, I was scared that white has some counter chances here. Like for example, after knight c6, bishop takes f3. White had this rook e6 move, threatening rook e7 mate. but this is easily defended by rook f7. So Anton goes rook h7. Now if black plays rook f7, then he takes this, and after knight e5 check, it's a fork, and white wins back the piece. Now if black just moves this bishop, let's say he goes to bishop d6. Here also white has this trick rook d6 with rook e7 mate. Of course bishop d1 is out of the question, because after bishop d1 rook into e7 is mate, and all these white's threats, it revolves around a mate on e7. Bishop f6 is the natural move then, moving the bishop away to a square where white cannot threaten this rook into rook e7 mate. But now white has rook d7. Again the idea is rook e7 mate, either one of the rooks threatening this e7. These things can get quite tricky and tense in a practical game, especially with limited time. But Raunak had spent a lot of time in for the previous moves, and he had calculated and seen all these tricks. So he was very much up to the task, and all he needed to do was move this f8 rook away so that the king gets some space when white gives this check on e7. So he just went rook h8, and after rook f7, bishop h5. Now this rook is attacked, and he cannot move anywhere on the 7th rank except to h7, after which this rook will get exchanged, and it's a pretty easy piece up for black. Not only a piece up, but also a lot of pawns. And if white takes this bishop, then just king d7 is a rook up, and rook e7 check doesn't really bother black anymore because of bishop e7, rook e7, king f8, and it's again a rook up. So Anton resigned at this point. Raunak's accuracy level for this game was a whopping 98% on the CAPS, the Computer Aggregated Precision Score. Overall, it was a pretty high level game by Raunak, and it's not easy to beat someone about 2600 in such a fashion, outplaying him emphatically. So although Raunak lost the match, he played several good games during the match, and this was one such game. So that's all we have for the game of the day today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you soon for one more of the game of the day videos in the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Thank you.